Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I was determined not to pick the camera up today because I really have got other stuff to do. But I've always said if I spot something new when I'm watering and stuff, I'll always film it, despite saving yesterday's video for this morning to try and take care of today. Oh boy, did I have fun with that video, that last one. That uses up far too much time. I'm not putting that much time into trying to do this, you know, beginning of season and end of season comparison, but I have thought of a much easier way. Just use my stills camera. I forget the things there. I've got a perfectly good DSLR with a really good lens on it and everything. And literally, I reckon I could go around this whole grow room and pick up every single plant, put it on the table with the black cloth and take a still, probably in an hour, hour and a half. And then I'm set up, ready for the end of the season in one hit. Just store those stills away, ready to go. The video software, the snapshots I took, they're just not good enough quality. They're grainy. I got a much better DSLR, so I do it that way. Anyway, new stuff. This lives down on the floor, and it was in a deep black pot, and I still can't remember why the hell I put that in a deep black pot. I can't believe that was the only thing I had. But anyway, I transferred it a while back into a shallower pot because it didn't have a deep root run, and it's a spreading plant, you know, across the surface. And when I repotted it, I thought, well, it's not got bad roots, they're not brilliant, but it's got a shed load of new growths all pushing on from many places. So I thought, if that decides to bloom, even though the new growths don't look very strong, it could be quite a show. And since the last time I watered it, I'm not joking, it's pushed out 2 spikes. Oh, better say what it is, hadn't I? This is it's a species. Now it says Odontoglossum naevium, but obviously virtually all the Odontoglossums got renamed as Oncidiums. But I got a feeling this one might have just slipped by and remained as an Odontoglossum, as it's a species. But one way or the other, that's what's on my tag and that's what's staying there. I've got a feeling John Greco got one of these in his last haul. But that's my thing. Oh, there's another spike down here. Quite honestly, just looking it over, I think all of those multitude of new growths have either got a spike or are shortly going to put one up. But we've certainly got one advancing here, quite a good one there. Another one just starting there. Anywhere else? Oh, I won't push me luck. But I suspect probably three spikes on this in the near future anyway. Beautiful blooms on this, and for this I'll do a pop-up because I've got a shot of this last time it bloomed, and it looks like, given the shape of this, it's going to be a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There could be 10 possible blooms on that spike. I mean, you can see the shape of it. Each one of those bits sticking out should be a bloom. So hopefully down the road this is going to put on quite a show. Now I've got to go careful because this is a cool grower. This one lives on the floor and gets a direct airflow from the inlet fan when it turns on, which is when it gets warmer. So it gets quite a cool draft from that fan. It is a cool grower. But unfortunately, it lives on the floor over there in that empty space, and now it's got spikes. So I think I'm going to move it because it's lived over there, and obviously there's a shelf above it which is now going to impede these spikes, and I don't want them getting damaged, especially if you think when the fan comes on they're going to waggle. If they're touching the shelf above, they'll get damaged. So I'm going to move it across to there, to that empty space, because there's no grill above it there. Now that it's warming up a bit, it'll take that cool air quite nicely. And what was in that big space is this monster up here. Now these have opened up now to get a much better impression of this is the Coleogyne Moriana, and I do like these. These are lovely large blooms. Well impressed with that. First time bloom. There's more to come on that too. There's another spike pushing on in the background, possibly another two. I haven't got a clue how long it's going to last, but the colour inside there is absolutely gorgeous. There's a faint fragrance coming off of that today as well. Not a lot. I can't really say what it is yet. They haven't long opened, you know. Often fragrance is quite a few days behind the actual opening, so wait and see what turns up with that. Anything else I spot I'll grab as I go round, but I just thought that those couple of Odontoglossum spikes were worth mentioning, especially as I know, you know, somebody quite well that's recently got one. So we'll see how we go from here, see if there's anything else I can find. I'm just about to, watering wise, I've done everything over here, nothing new over there to talk about. I've got a feeling I've got a spike starting on one of my Deesers, but it could be a leaf, so I want to wait until I'm sure, and then we can get in close on that. Nothing else much going on over this sort of side. Nothing much going on over here. Zygo's pushing up, huge big growths all over the place, but I don't see any spikes yet. Come on, you lot, you haven't been in bloom for a while. It's that time you did your thing. The two radiators down here have both got spikes that are pushing on now. Very, very fragrant these are, but they are rampant plants. You know, they've got quite large gaps between the pseudobulbs. They're a creeper. They crawl across the surface of the pot. I may be going to sell both of those, because quite honestly, if they were turned facing opposite each other and the back end cut off, you'd get quite a good pot full if both of those went together. And there is actually a new growth starting on that one with new roots. So yeah, it might be a good time to move those on to somebody else. It's not one I want to keep. I've had these quite a few years now. I've seen the blooms, smelt the blooms, quite happy that I've done my thing with them, but I don't want them long term. You know, they're taking up an awful lot of space, especially as they've you know, started growing a bit better than they used to. So obviously the better they grow, the bigger they get, more space they take up. But the only place I'm liable to find some more little surprises is over in amongst this sea of green now, so I'll have a good look over that, and I'll be back if there's more to show. Right, let's have some fun. This dendrobium's got no ID. It looks like many things, but when you're trying to identify something, I mean, that's just a relatively close look at that bloom. Now let's go over here and show you another bloom. Many would say they're identical. But when you're trying to identify something, every little difference is important. So let's have a closer look at this one then. The lower two sepals are almost horizontal. The lip has a slight frilliness to it and is a distinct shade of orange with red veining. So that's a reasonable description of that. Yeah? And the other two petals, as well as the lip, have a wavy edge to them. It's only slight, but it's there. Now this is Stardust Firebird. Now let's go back to the other one and look in a bit more detail. What have we got here? The lip's got virtually no waviness to it. The lower two sepals distinctly arch downwards. They're not horizontal at all. And that lip is not orange, it's yellow. It's a pale yellow with less distinct red veining. And yet, if you glanced at this one and glanced at the other one, you'd say they were the same. That's why it's so difficult to truly identify a plant that you got with no label, as I did with this. So yeah, I mean, this is performing well. Quite honestly, I'm not sure I'm even fussed what it's called. It does well, it puts on a massive show. It's got loads of new growths coming as well. But Stardust Firebird has never done that well for me. These are kikis in actual fact. But it has just opened a couple of blooms, it's got some more buds to come, and it does actually have a new growth at the base. I think that's the first one I've ever had at the base. And believe it or not, that cup behind it, this was one of the big box full, and it's one that I forgot what it was and I had to ask again, and it's easily identified because it's in a cup. And none of the others were, but apparently this is Stardust Firebird as well, and it now has some good strong new growths coming from the base, and it looks like it's either going to do its kiki thing or it may even have some buds. But it's got something growing out of several of the canes. They may be buds, they may, I mean, this is a kiki machine, hence the pot full of kikis that I've got. But between them, all of these plants, all of these kikis in one pot with basal growths is going to make quite a nice pot full of this down the line. So anyway, that's new blooms. I did point the camera at these the other day, but I wasn't prepared to take about 12 plants out of the way to get at it, whereas today it's come out to be watered. So and now it's out to be watered and it's in bloom, it can stay out. You know, as soon as things come into bloom, I put them somewhere where I can see them, near the front of the shelves or whatever. So yeah, very attractive, but not the easiest of plants to grow well. Just keeps chucking out kikis, or mine did. We'll see how we get on from now on anyway. I'm running out of places to put stuff at the moment, but this is Shelob Tolkien, and this is spiking on 3 of the 4 new growths. This one's the most advanced, so that'll be open first, hotly followed by that one, and then this new growth down here has got one coming as well. So that's 3 spikes. The only new growth at the moment without a spike is this one at the front here, and that's still quite a young new growth, so I suspect that will still bloom, that will still spike, but a bit later on, you know, perhaps in 3 or 4 weeks time, something like that. So this is going to have a nice succession, and once it gets to this spike opening, it's going to be in bloom an incredibly long time because of the succession. You know, first one will open, that one will probably be a week later or something like that, then that other little one, wherever it's gone, around the front here, that will probably be a couple of weeks after that, and then the new growth that hasn't got a spike yet will follow on sort of several weeks after that too. So this is going to be in bloom a very, very long time once it gets there. But the buds are starting to separate from this first spike, so coming soon. That's done really well considering all these new growths pushed on during the winter. But yeah, coming on well, that one. Not quite sure what the camera is going to do with this, but to my eyes this is absolutely gorgeous. This is Dendrobium hercoglossum. Has to be viewed from underneath, otherwise you just can't see the dark centre. But when it's backlit, it just glows. Now I don't know what the camera's doing with that, but you know, that's it. There's quite a few blooms coming out on this now. Lots more buds to come, obviously. The buds are almost so dense they hide in the blooms, but yeah, just trying to catch the light right and stay in focus, obviously. Pretty good, that one of my real all-time favourites. I've had this one years, really years. And last but not least for today anyway, this is Dendrobium anosmum, and the buds are just today starting to open, so they're not fully open, can't see the lip properly yet. But I mean, in the weather we're having lately, you know, the mounts are daily watering now, so this one will be down out of the rack again tomorrow, and hopefully some of the blooms at least will be fully open. I think we're looking for a deep purple inside the lip, yep, and a nice pink with patterning, because these are very, very variable from almost white to a deep purple. But I'm pleased I've got a sort of mid-coloured one, because if I had a deep purple one, it would have just looked like Dendrobium nesta. So yeah, pleased with that colour. It's just the job, because they'll nearly always be out at the same time. So to have two virtually the same colour wouldn't be as good. So this one sort of makes up the difference, but we should be able to see the fully open blooms during tomorrow. So I'll leave that for today, just some bits and bobs as I went round. Usual sort of thing, really. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time.